Book of the green candles, but I only see one green candle at the moment. That is the incentive token. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I think it's just kind of caught fire right now. It was kind of pumping a little harder. Everything was kind of pumping, and then ink just kept taking off. And I think it was kind of a snowball effect and FOMO, and it's continued to, hold its momentum. Obviously got a ways to hit new all-time highs, but I mean, from the lows, it's up like 13x, or it's looking really strong.
13x, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it so? And just I've got to talk in the green room and told you I got to post on ink, and we'll get into it in just a minute. But
yeah,
just this chart too. We've talked about it before around kind of the inverse inflation chart,
right?
And then when Richard came out with a tweet about it perhaps being leverage on PulseX or whatever, that really struck me as interesting too, because you could call that in the chart, right? You could be like, when things aren't so good, it goes down super hard, but when things are looking better, it just those two things put together seem to go up harder as well. Is that I don't know. How do you feel about that being a big part of the ecosystem, like ink being a big part of things?
So I mean, I've kept my eye on ink since the start, and really kind of dove into how it worked. And Dipcatcher made a really good site for ink inflation that I keep my eye on. And throughout those 7 months or 6 months of dumping, to me the chart made sense. The inflation was so high. It still is actually really high. And so for me, it was like, okay, yeah, of course price is going to dump. It's just too much to absorb. And so for me, it was just like, at what critical point, are the LPs that are dumping it going to run out of steam, and the market's going to be able to absorb that inflation? And I'll admit, I thought it was going to be longer than the 7 months. Like, I thought it'd be dumping for a while, just because it's still very high, which we'll see in a second. But I think part of what happened was there was like a pump, and then the LPs that were kind of continually dumping realized, okay, maybe this isn't something that I want to be dumping the second I earn it, right? It's like, maybe this is worth holding. And so, the minute that sentiment changes around who's getting this inflation, once they decide to hold, then it's like, okay, then the market doesn't need to absorb, the full amount of the inflation. But yeah, I mean, 129% is still crazy high for annualized inflation, compared to something like Hex, which is 3.69%, but actually it's much lower, or at least it has been. So to me, I look at that and I was like, man, I don't know how a market is going to absorb that much. But yeah, look, I mean, it's flipped to bullish, and I'm all for it, man. I mean, we need something to drive attention, to bring capital over. And if that's ink, then it's ink. I think it's interesting to see people being like, oh, I told you so with ink, but like, no one could have predicted this, these pumps. Yeah. What's your thoughts on it? I mean, I didn't see your tweet yet, but.
Oh yeah, I was just I was bringing up Richard's tweet just on your point of the, no one expecting it to do things like this and all that. I think, you think his marketing, first, do you think it's a marketing play? And second, if so, do you think it's an interesting one where he's essentially, I think kind of tongue in cheek, but calling it a meme coin on PulseChain in order to attract people, because meme coins, a lot of people are interested in them for better or worse and all this stuff. And there's different varieties and different games you can play and stuff. But him literally calling it a meme coin, it almost thinks, because I've always thought, okay, there'll be something else to it. Maybe it doesn't have utility right now, but I think in the future, either community build on it, or maybe he'll flip some switch or something. but now he's calling it a meme coin. Is this kind of like a 4D chess of like, well, it's a meme coin now that attracts you, but later on, or you think it's like, no, it's just literally a coin you earned. It's not PulseX.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's smart. There is a certain class of people that like meme coins, and I remember, I don't know if it was like a month ago, not too long ago, I called Ink a meme coin, and people were like extremely mad at me. So I feel like a little vindicated now that Richard Hart has confirmed that it is indeed a meme coin. But to your point, like, there could be utility built for Ink in the future. It does, although it doesn't have, when I say a meme coin, what I meant by that is just like, you can't do anything with it. Like with Pulse, you use it for gas, you can become a validator. With Hex, you can stake it. Right now it's like, there is a purpose for Ink, rewarding liquidity providers, but there isn't really anything to do with the token. It's just a speculative coin. But yeah, I mean, it's a wild, I don't know. It's just adds to this like evolution that we're all going through as a community, and even Richard Hart himself, because it's like, if you would have told me Richard Hart would be shilling a meme coin 2 years ago, I would have laughed in your face. Even though like we all kind of knew Ink would be a meme coin, like for him to just come out and say that, it's like, it's pretty amazing, like where we've come from where we were. But I'm all for it. I think it does have a crazy marketing play to kind of be, although like we need to work on the actual memes of it. The meme itself is kind of just like, it's Richard Hart's meme coin, and it could outperform everything, and that would just be, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you weren't tipped off by him saying he's going to turn a picture of the 5555 diamond into an NFT and make that valuable. That wasn't the sign he was going down that road.
Yeah, I know, man. It's crazy.
So I was telling you too, I made this post just I don't know, probably 30 minutes ago about, because I was thinking about Ink and PulseX, and again, everyone has just varying opinions on them. Some people, I mean, I don't know, maybe some people don't like PulseX, they don't like Ink, but I think a lot of people are okay with PulseX or like PulseX a lot, but they don't like Ink. And that's what I thought would be an interesting conversation too, just with your perspective, because I was thinking, I was like, okay, so people don't like, maybe more people like PulseX, not Ink, because they have skin in the game. It's kind of the SAC thing. They are aligned to like it in some way, and they don't want to buy Ink, and maybe they farm it or not, or they think, okay, it's like the testnet thing. Maybe there's a DAO voting, there's some flip that can be switched, or some switch that could be flipped on. Or maybe it's just another coin that they're like, I don't care about Ink. I want to see Pulse go up. I want to see Hex go up. I want to see PulseX go up.
Yeah.
It just trying to reconcile those two for me. Yeah. It just, when I think about it, I'm like, if I like PulseX, to me, I like Ink too, because they both don't do anything today.
Right.
They both don't have any value. Maybe one has more rumors that it will, but the tokens themselves, the platform, separating the token from the platform, of course, the token itself doesn't do anything today. So I don't know, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I was just reading the tweet. I think you put out some really good points. And at the end of the day, it's like people support what they hold above all else, right? And I think your point about the sacrifice, like, the fact that Ink wasn't a sacrifice coin, it's been, earned by LPs, is really interesting. So it is different than Pulse and PulseX for sure, and just how it's come to be and how it was minted. Again, I think, and this is just my personal opinion, I'm always like wary of coins that people get for free. I just don't think people value them as much as like something they've bought. And so, like that kind of contributed to my thinking about just the inflation rate is like, people are earning these for liquidity providing. So the combination of like kind of them getting it for free in a way, and also being like earnings, I don't know. Ink has definitely been surprising me, but it is like interesting to watch the community kind of formulate their own narratives around Ink. There is one narrative that I don't know where it started or what, but like kind of going around that ink has a halvening every year, which, after looking at the code,
is that not true? I know I've heard that too. And I'm like, did I miss something, or is that
doesn't.
just not? Okay.
What people may be thinking about that is, when you look back on that inflation chart, that ink inflation chart, it's a very linear inflation. And so what that means is like the annualized inflation rate, the inflation rate goes down as that inflation becomes less of the total supply. So, we've seen it drop drastically since its launch. It's kind of flattened out, but it'll continue to drop. But there's no like, every year it's going to like cut in half. It might like, now, it may have, it dropped way more than half in its first, couple months, but I'd have to like calculate out exactly how much it drops a year. But yeah, there's no halvening in ink. It's more just a dropping rate.
Just on the point too, I honestly, I think for months now, we've been trying to come up with a bullish narrative for ink. When it was worth a lot of money, when you're making, you could be making thousands of dollars a month doing it, when it was $35 and $50. And, of course it hit the highs of 80 at that one point. Like then it was much easier. Like, hey, I'm looking around. Is anyone else making this money, this free money right now? Like, I don't know what's going on, but that's that sort of thing. But after that, after the price went down a lot, and it's kind of like, okay, what is the narrative? And I've thought about like, what is the bullish narrative for ink? And I really can't come up with anything other than the liquidity bonding with the other tokens. And now we've seen the world's largest DAI holder buying it with everything else, which is very interesting. So it's almost like a belief. It's almost like there's no tokenomics. There's no, maybe that's what you're hitting is like the tokenomics aren't there to be that 10,000x coin like we're used to. It's just exactly if you believe in RH coins and you believe, the liquidity promise of the ecosystem and all that, like, I guess that's the narrative. There's no like factual math to do. That's really compelling that I saw.
Yeah. It's one of those things with just so many things in crypto. It just like doesn't make sense. Why at the end of the day, like you had mentioned, like the tokenomics aren't there. The there's no buy and burn on it. Like it's just a coin. But oftentimes in crypto markets, it's just like things that shouldn't outperform everything sometimes do. And you kind of just have to like observe it and not, there at the end of the day, it just comes down to buying and selling. And if people value it, then they value it and price will go up. I do think it's, some things that people care about, like someone just mentioned OA didn't get free ink. There is like, I don't know, it's hard to tell what narratives actually compel people to buy things. But not having an OA and being kind of fully decentralized kind of separates it from the other things. But I think right now what we're seeing is just like a FOMO pump, which, we need those. Like we need to show health in this ecosystem, or especially around RH coins. And, I don't know how long it'll last. I think we're going to see some pretty crazy volatility. But eventually I think hopefully all the other RH assets kind of catch up or have their own pumps as well.
I think, again, considering that PulseX, the token, has the same utility as ink in a way, none as of today, at least. That could change in the future. And then there's no OA. I'm trying to put together like this bullish narrative. If I were to try, there's no OA. So there's no, majority holder who started out with all the supply or most supply, all that stuff. And then there is an entity, an OA like entity or something, whatever you want to call it, who is buying it now with the rest of them. And then the founder of the ecosystem, has said something to the effect that there, it could be a leverage play on the other coins that everyone really likes. Again, not a lot of factual tokenomic stuff going on there. But
I don't. What do you think he
meant?
Right? What do you think he meant by that? Like that it's leverage against the others?
I mean, I just took it as it can go
Yeah.
down a lot harder and up a lot harder, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been trying to figure out what he meant by that. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for narratives. I do. The only things that like I don't like is when people spin up like false narratives, like, you know, around like forked stables, gonna peg to $1, like those types of things that like really annoy me. I just think they're dishonest. So as long as like, you know, the narratives that people want to spit up about ink are like aren't dishonest, I'm all for it. But honestly, I think just the fact that it's a Richard Hart coin and it's a meme coin essentially, I think is carrying most of the buys.
I'm just trying to find his leverage tweet too.
Yeah.
You think there's something? I mean, I guess there's the face value side of leverage, which is kind of what I said is like, okay, it's regardless of the mechanics, the net result is, you know, up, down harder, up more sort of thing. But I know there's a mechanic side of like what makes that happen.
Yeah.
Is it just a speculation? Is there anything else you can think of to it?
I mean, yeah, I think it's pretty much all speculation. I mean, when you think about it, like the OA, or not the OA, the SAC wallet attached address buying, you know, buying all of RH's assets. And it was interesting. I was watching those pumps kind of for like, just to understand how much impact those buys really have, you know? And I was like, okay, so for 500K, you know, this is how much it pumped the market. But out of all of those, it's like Inc was able to carry its momentum past, you know, a lot of the other ones had a strong pump, but then got sold down. Whereas Inc was able to like continue that momentum. And I think, you know, already talking about it and just kind of a culmination of like the momentum has really carried the price. And, you know, it's impacting the whole ecosystem. Everything is kind of down except for Inc. So it's kind of the main focus as of right now. So I think it's just carried a lot of attention and momentum.